Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. Just thought I'd return to you tonight for this premiere video for October 23rd, and I hope you will enjoy this premiere video for Dayseeker Creature in the Black Night album that I got a chance to listen to for myself, see what I was going to think of this album. So, yeah, the long-awaited studio album we've been waiting for since I presume the first single came out in April, but it didn't get announced till uh, when the single Creature in the Black Night came out, which was in July, so it got announced then. But overall, let's dive into this 11-track album, which is a 39-minute runtime. So, Pale Moonlight is the opening track, which is a great track. I really like the dark theme to it. I like the melody, the symphonic melody, and just how it sounds overall. It's really ominous, but it works for how it is with Rory Rodriguez's vocals and his screaming vocals. So it's overall a very good track. 5 out of 5. It was the first single, the lead single for this album, and overall it did very well. So Creature in the Black Night, the self-titled track. The title track, of course, is a very good one too. It's definitely experimental for most of it, but it gets better when the bridge comes in, and the ending is pretty good too. So the bridge is my favorite aspect of the track, and it does very well for the execution. So Rory Rodriguez's vocals are very experimental in this one, but it works, and the video is pretty weird, but it does execute very well. So it's another 5 out of 5 for Creature in the Black Night. Crawl Back to My Coffin is one of the regular songs on the record. It's 4 minutes and 2 seconds, but it is very good. I really enjoyed this track. I really enjoyed how melodic this song sounds with Rory Rodriguez's vocals. Does very well. The experimentation for this track is really good, with the electronics fused with the drumming and guitar work. And this track did well overall, so I really enjoyed this one. Another 5 out of 5 for Crawl Back to My Coffin. Very strong track. It does have a dark theme behind it, but it does well for the horror aspect of what they're going for with this horror-based album. So, horror-themed album, basically. Shapeshift is another good one. It was the third single for this record's announcement, and it is very strong from what I listened to. Give it a 5 out of 5 too. I really enjoyed this one for the execution, and overall did very well for how it sounded. It is 4 minutes and 7 seconds, but it executes well. With Rory Rodriguez's singing, and his screaming moments are pretty strong in the bridge, and it overall was one of my favorite songs on this record. 5 out of 5. It's not like my personal favorite, but it is a very strong song. Soul Burn is very experimental. It's kind of like a little interlude to the next song, Bloodlust, which is another single we'll talk about in a second. But Soul Burn is still a pretty strong track. It's very weird and ominous, but with the electronics mixed with the melody and all that, does very well for how it sounds, even with Rory Rodriguez's singing. So it's another 5 out of 5. Bloodlust is the final single for the record, and it is a very strong track from second. I am so sorry about that. I don't know why it froze like that. So, yeah, it just stopped when I was at the 3 minute and 58 second mark of the video. But to get back on track, Bloodlust, very good song. I really enjoyed this one. I like the experimentation with Rory Rodriguez's vocals, and just mixed with the clean vocals and then the screaming vocals. It does very well. The bridge part has the screaming vocals, but it's a really strong track. It's probably my personal favorite track on this record, along with another track that I enjoyed. So 5 out of 5. Cemetery Blues is another regular song on the record, along with Soul Burn and Crawl Back to My Coffin. And another pretty strong one that I personally enjoyed. So it's another 5 out of 5. It I wouldn't say it's like the best of the best, but it is a really good song from what I listened to. So I really enjoyed the mixture and the experimentation with this track, the drumming and synthwave metal style uh, genres blended in together, and it does very well for the execution with Rory's vocal potential. So, very good song, 5 out of 5. Nocturnal Remedy does have a catchy beat to it, catchy drum work, catchy melody. It executes very well for how it sounds symphonically, synthwave wise, and metal. The metal style does very well, so it's a 5 out of 5. Then we get to The Living Dead, which is probably my least favorite. I'd give it a 4.75 out of 5. I didn't hate this, but I wouldn't say it was one of my favorite songs. But it overall executed in a way to where I think it's on the safe side. But I still have my critiques with this song for how it sounds overall. Because it's very melodic and somewhat dull, but not terrible in any way. 4.75 out of 5. Meet the Reaper is a very strong track. I really enjoyed the synthwave style with the metal genre blending in this track. Did very well for the execution, and it overall is one of my favorite songs close to the end of the album, because this and the next song are my favorites. So this track did very well. I thought this was going to be the closing track, but it's the next one that's the closing track. So it overall is a pretty strong second to last track on the record. 5 out of 5. And finally, we get to Forgotten Ghost, which is really melodic for most of it, and then the drumming comes in the chorus, and it does very well with Rory's singing potential in it. So I really enjoyed this one. It's another one of my favorites on this record. Another 5 out of 5 is well deserved for this song. So overall, production, mixing, and execution wise, I think Dayseeker, Creature in the Black Night was well worth the listen, well worth the wait. Really enjoyed this album from start to finish, except for The Living Dead. Soulburn is kind of a grower, but it just depends on the listener, because some people may say Soulburn is not like one of their best. It's not one of the worst, but it overall does have a lot of experimentation with the electronics and the synth melodies. So I think Soulburn and The Living Dead are slightly least favorites, but not terrible in any way. So if I were to give Dayseeker, Creature in the Black Night a score, it's getting a 9.5 out of 10. A very strong release. Definitely rocks. Highly recommend you check this album out when it comes out at midnight on October 24th, because it's well deserved of a listen. It was worth the wait for waiting on this album, even though we got 4 singles for the record out of an 11-track album. They didn't spoil too much. At least they didn't drop a 5th single, so thank God for that. But other than that, the horror thematic stuff with this mixing and production for this record was blended very well. And the horror theme style that they're going for with this record did very well. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the record and what the theme of the record is basically depicting about. So yeah, Dayseeker, Creature in the Black Night, 9.5 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this album review tonight, and thank you guys for watching. Have a good night.